Good morning everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another video. And if you're watching this video, you're probably in the market for a 2024 Honda Civic Sport Touring. And that's why I'm making this video, to show you guys why I love this car so much, why I got this car, and why I think it will be a good option for you. So in this video, we'll just be going over just a general overview and then we'll start going into the details. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So starting off here, like I said before, this is my 2024 Honda Civic Sport Touring, here gated with a 6-speed manual transmission and finished in Boost Blue. Now everything that you see here is what you're going to get from the factory, an exception for this trim right here, which comes chrome on the cars. I have mine wrapped black, which does come on the Sport if you're looking for a NA option with less features, but we'll get into those features here later on. But just general overview of the car. Sport Touring, you get fog lights right up here, which is nice. Full LED headlights, which, I mean, they just light up the road at night. Nice long hood, and it's still very easy to see out of even with the long hood. And down here with the wheels, we have 18-inch wheels fitted to 235/40 tires, and these are Continentals, and they ride really well, surprisingly, for a factory tire. I do have these spaced out, so fitment is going to be a little bit tucked in, but overall, I can't complain about the looks of this car. I mean, everything aero-wise is all factory, side skirts are all factory, and then back here, dealer installed option is the HPD wing, which I personally think you can't go without it, although it does come with a little lip on the trunk, which, you know, some people just like the lip, some people want the wing, and of course there's plenty of aftermarket options out there. So, I mean, it's really just your taste. But speaking of back here, we got the tail lights. These are LED brake lights, but the reverse lights and the turn signals are just regular bulbs, but obviously you can just switch that out with LED bulbs if you want to. And then something exclusive to the Sport Touring in the Civic lineup, down here you have these kind of exposed exhaust outlets. These aren't true tips because the tips end kind of in the middle here, but this makes it really good if you want to get an exhaust for this. That way you won't have to spend like $300 or whatever on a new diffuser, and you can just unscrew these little silver pieces and still be able to put whatever exhaust you want. Now, moving on to the interior. So this is frankly a super nice interior. Here with the Sport Touring, we get these leather seats. These are heated and powered. It is 8-way driver, 4-way passenger, and these are just really comfy. The heated seat actually works really well, and I mean, just for everyday cruising and for corners, these hold you in pretty nicely. And as you can see, very nice dashboard. You got a 9-inch infotainment screen, full digital gauge cluster. You got this nice leather-wrapped steering wheel. And then my favorite thing about this interior, which is on all Civics, is that like nice little monolithic looking vent. And you only have the vents where the controls are, but it's still a very nice touch. And as well in here, we do have the dual zone climate control, which you only get on the Sport Touring. And then two plugs right here. Sadly, they are USB-A, which I believe they are updating to USB-C in 2025. But we have a wireless charger here. It is wireless CarPlay, which is very nice. I mean, I always have my phone plugged in anyway because, frankly, that charges it faster. But let's get into all the technology. And some other nice features that we get here with the Sport Touring. We do have built-in home link, which is very nice, so you don't have to carry a garage door opener around. And then up here, obviously, you have your sunroof controls. These are LED interior lights. And then we actually get a sunglass holder, which is also a nice feature. And then also with the Sport Touring, you get this nice little sunroof. Nothing too big, it's not like a panoramic sunroof, but it gets the job done. So, as you can see, full digital gauge, but before we get to the gauge cluster, let's start off with the steering wheel, because actually you have a few nice features on here. So you do get this little bit of metal right here on the steering wheel because of Sport Touring. I mean, that's a little bit of like just chrome accents and piano black trim all around, but that's not what the focus is on here. We're going to talk about the steering wheel controls, because this thing has a lot of very convenient safety features, such as adaptive cruise control, which is kind of weird to have on a manual car, but it's actually pretty helpful. It does like to stay a little farther away from cars, but it's easily set with the steering wheel. Adjust your distance here. And then as well, we have the lane keep assist right here, which just keeps you centered in the lane, and it will steer you in turns. But you have to obviously have your hands on the wheel. And then on the other side, radio controls, volume up and down, and then the voice control button, which frankly, who's ever really going to use that? Because this is stuff from like 2010. And then you have these two dials on here, which I will show you here in a little bit, help you customize the gauge. So here with the gauge cluster, as you can see, you have your gas mileage menu right there that you can set. But this is really customizable. You can do trip time, where you're going. I really don't understand what the purpose of that screen is. And then just a couple other menus. Here's where you can adjust your safety systems, so like your road departure, blind spot, and then braking controls. And then as well, here you can customize the gauges. So you can change them from these round gauges to, if you wanted to, bars, which just, I guess, makes it look a little bit more race-like. Personally, I like the round more. And then you have these minimal settings, which make it to where if you have the cruise control on the highway, it will hide the tachometer and the speedometer. So that's pretty nice when you just want to cruise. But anyways, moving on to the other side, we got the radio controls, and then you have just everything, USB connection, Bluetooth, CarPlay. You can customize the display from here too, to show like clock, if you want your clock on or not. And then just phone. Yeah, basic stuff like that. But one of my favorite features about this, if you have the cruise control primed, as you can see by that little white symbol there, it will show this little display in the middle of the car, which if I press on the brakes, it will show the brake lights, and it will do the same with the turn signals, which I actually think is pretty cool. And if you turn cruise off, it will get rid of that, but as soon as you put it back on, or as soon as you put the lane keep assist on, it will show the car. Alright, so now moving along here to the infotainment system. Very nice. Here we have a full color 9-inch display, which in the lower trims you get a 7-inch display, which is just, and it's a non-color display, but frankly I don't really recognize much of a difference. But very easy to navigate. You got your home screen here. You can do access vehicle settings, general settings. Vehicle settings basically gives you every little thing that you need, TPMS, driver assist, just a whole bunch of nice stuff. And CarPlay is very quick to connect, wireless like I said, or it can be wired, however you prefer, but just very, very fast in here. And speaking of the infotainment system, with your audio, this thing is wild with the 12-speaker Bose sound system, which includes a subwoofer in the back. It is very, very crisp. Obviously, I'm not going to play any music because of copyright, but it sounds absolutely amazing. And if you do get one of these cars, one feature that I have seen, or I haven't seen anywhere else, but I found out is really nice, this Bose center point, it makes it to where it is surround sound, and it just upgrades the audio experience amazingly. Alright, so one nice rare option that we have that I mentioned before, we have the 6-speed manual here, which personally I cannot live without because I don't really like the CVT. Nothing against people that drive a CVT, just, manual is a lot more fun, especially for a car that you want to be engaging. But there was only 864 manual cars of the Sport and the Sport Touring made for the 2024 model year. And unfortunately, these will be the last manuals that are made for these trims. I will go more into that later. But driving experience, shifter is very nice. It's notchy, which really makes up for the driving experience, because me coming from a 2006 Scion TC, I'm used to clutch feel, and the clutch on this, frankly, it just feels like, I mean, there's a little bit of resistance, but it's not anything compared to like an older car, if you've ever driven an older car, but it's still pretty nice. If you've never driven a Honda manual, bite point's a little bit at the top, so it's just something to get used to, but it shifts really nice. And while we're down here, I may as well go ahead and talk about this center control panel. So you have a couple buttons here. You got your Econ mode, which really just adjusts your throttle sensitivity. And you got the button for the most useless option ever on a car, especially a manual car. And then park and brake. And then one of the most useful features is this brake hold. So if you come to a stop and you're just on your brakes, it will just hold them for you. It's just a really convenient feature, especially for a manual car if you're on hills. So here at the back seats, it's actually very, very roomy back here, as this car is so low, like the floor is very low. So I can sit in here, I'm 5'7", I fit perfectly comfortable, and people that are taller have sat back here and they are perfectly comfortable too. Now, the one thing about this car, you do not get rear air vents, which frankly, for how small the cabin is, the fronts do plenty good. But that's just something to keep in mind if you're in the market and you're just looking at rivals. But in replacement for that, we do get 2 USB Type A ports back here. And then, I mean, frankly, there's really nothing else back here. Got center armrest with cup holders, no cubbies. Just a really nice place to just sit back here. All right, so now moving back here to the trunk. It is very, very roomy back here. I believe it is 46.2 cubic inches of room, and that's with the rear seats up, which is really nice. And you also get a lot of privacy back here, so you have this little pull-out privacy shade, which is built into the car, so you can just put it back there if you need to stack something, and then just put it right back. And that is not the only privacy that you get, because also up here, you get another privacy shade. So basically, if someone tries to look in your back, or in your trunk, they won't see anything. All right, moving on to the motor up here, we have a 1.5 liter 4-cylinder up here, which frankly, for how small it is very, very peppy because of that little turbo right there. Now, this motor makes 180 horsepower and 177 foot-pounds of torque, but because it is front-wheel drive, you have very minimal powertrain loss. So you have 164 wheel horsepower and 165 wheel torque. And unfortunately, this motor will only be offered on the SI next year. So just something to keep in mind, that you will not be able to get a turbo Civic unless you get the SI or the Type R next year. A quick note for all of my tuners out there, I don't think this is the best motor for you, because this has a 10.3 to 1 compression ratio, and it already pushes 16.5 pounds of boost. And there's been people that make like 21 pounds of boost comfortably, but if you try to push 350 horsepower out of this, frankly, you're just gonna bend a rod, because the rods are kind of weak in this. So just a quick note, if you're looking to make this thing into like a race car or a tuner, you might just be better off with the Sport. Now, as I mentioned before, as of right now, it is just rumors. I don't know if it is true, but as of 2025, there will be no more manual option on any Civic besides the SI and Type R, nor will there be a turbo. So they will be moving to a direct injected 2-liter 4-cylinder in 2025, and that it will just be NA, no assist in the 2 lower trims, and in like the Sport Touring trim and the other higher trims, it will be a hybrid. So yes, more power and potentially all-wheel drive. However, you will lose the feeling, and unfortunately, we will also lose the manual transmission. Now, driving this car, frankly, it's very pleasant because it's such an easy car to drive. And one thing that's really surprised me about it is how the suspension is tuned. This is probably the best tuned suspension I've ever like ridden on or felt in a like sub $50,000 car. I mean, frankly, it's just very, very good to ride in. Very comfy. Even with the wheel spacers, it didn't ruin the suspension geometry at all. And I will get on it just a little bit here to show. I mean, it's peppy enough to where you have fun in it, but it's not enough to where you can really get in trouble. Speaking of, there was a cop back there, so thankfully we're going the speed limit of 55 over here. And yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of road noise, but for what it is very, very quiet. And steering, you have electric power steering, very nice to drive nonetheless. And I mean, I have it in neutral right now and I'm just cruising. One of the nice things about having a manual, and also with the driving, I love that the gas mileage on this, because you do have a 12.4 gallon tank, and if you can see right here, I am currently running 34.4 miles a gallon, and I do have over 2,000 miles on this thing. Had it roughly a month and a half, so I mean, I've just enjoyed every single second. Now, I know you probably can't find, I mean, I had trouble finding stuff about the break-in period, so if you do get one brand new, break-in period is around 625 miles, and I even read the owner's manual and it didn't say anything about that. So, I mean, overall, very, very nice car to drive, and I'm just more than happy to have it. So, overall, I've really enjoyed this car over my ownership, and I plan to enjoy it even more for years to come. I mean, compared to the rivals, I would choose this because I was looking between this and a Mazda 3 hatchback, which now, if the rumors are true for the 2025, that Mazda 3 hatchback will be the only way that you can get a turbo or manual, or NA hatchback with a manual in 2025 that's not a performance hatch, like a hot hatch. So anyways, I think you should act on these if you can, or while you still can, before the prices absolutely skyrocket and dealers are asking like $10,000 markups on them. So anyways, I hope this helped you guys kind of just get an understanding of what it's like to drive the 2024 Honda Civic Sport Touring, especially here with a manual. And I wish you guys all the best of luck on your car search, and thank you guys so very much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Ciao.